Hello, welcome to this week's Market Talk, and our guests this time are Phil Howard, who is the MD of the Catering Design Group, and John Whitehouse, who is the MD of the First Choice Group. So welcome guys, thanks for coming along. So we'll start off the discussion today with Phil. CDG, how did it cope throughout this crazy period? Did you guys manage to continue to operate, or did you have to kind of slow things down?
I think everything slowed down, I have to say. I think come March, really, when it started to hit, we actually decided we were closing the office on the 20th of March, which we duly did, thinking we'd be back a couple of weeks later. But obviously then the lockdown kicked in the following Monday, so that was it, really. I think a lot of our business, kind of, as a lot of people think, kind of fell off a cliff, really, for that period of time then. We were fortunate, really, that we'd got some elements that we were continuing to work with. So predominantly consultancy work that we've got, and that was continuing and developing with, working with architects and designers, and they were all working from home. We were all working from home, and they just kept on going in that kind of format. But in terms of inquiries, it really did sort of fall off a cliff because a lot of our clients were furloughed almost straight away by their companies. So especially on sort of contract catering side of things, and a lot of them were just trying to find their feet, really, and how they move forward. So it was quite a fast change, really. And I think some of our major clients, where we're talking to lots of different people, suddenly there was only one person there that you could kind of talk to anymore. So all those changes were sort of hit us quite hard during that period of time. And then come the end of March, we then furloughed most of the team then. So although we could have done it slightly earlier, we made the decision. We'd already done salaries and things for March anyway, so we'd keep it going until then. And then at that time we furloughed, I think it was 8 members of staff, and had 5 of us still working, and that's kind of tweaked and changed a little bit during the period of the lockdown.
Yeah, so you guys back up and running now? Have you returned workers from furlough?
We're not with the office, no. We've just basically kept the office closed because there's not enough really inquiries coming in. But I have to say that's changed over the last week. We've started to get a few more inquiries coming through. We've had inquiries over the last few months, but mostly on consultancy work as opposed to project work. So, and that we've been successful with winning probably 4 of those inquiries. So that's been quite good for us. So that's continuing to develop. But this last week, we started to get inquiries for projects. And again, that relates to some of our clients coming back off furlough. So they were starting to move a little bit, really, and their clients were pushing them, and et cetera, really. So we are seeing some green shoots there, really. But I think from our point of view, we're still not looking at an immediate quick recovery because the nature of what we do, it's going to be well into next year before we see any kind of normality, as they say.
Yeah, there's obviously been lots of talk about a V-shaped recovery, but I think that increasingly looks like it will be not a V-shape. It'll be a very different shape recovery.
Yeah, I think with ourselves, because we're a design-orientated business, we have to start with the design work, and then it goes on for considerable lengths of time, for months, even years sometimes. So to get that going and the wheels turning again with such a major stop is going to be a major thing for us. But we've still got a lot of business we were dealing with prior to the lockdown, but still there. It's still sort of alive, but it's likely to push back into 21. So we're really forecasting that our business will start recovering mid to end of 21, really.
Sure, okay. And John, just to bring you into the conversation, obviously the nature of First Choice's business model, it's presuming it's not pegged to projects in the way that a traditional kitchen house is. Can you sort of describe the experiences that you've had over the last few months?
Yeah, sure. Obviously when we got to March and we were having a pretty good quarter, probably the best 3 months we'd ever had, and then it dropped off a cliff, as Phil said. We dropped down to nearly 15% of our turnover instantly. It just went. We've got 170 staff, and the first thing we needed to do was to have safety in mind for the staff. We didn't know how long it was going to be, how long we needed to tell people what to do. We had to try and organise 150 laptops, paid over the odds for every one of them because no one was supplying them at the right price. And you know, and then get everyone working from home as quickly as possible. And we did that for about a week. We got everyone working from home except for the warehouse, which had to be. We've got foggers, we've got perspex screens, we've got masks for the staff, we've got sanitizing everywhere. We've pulled on the industry that has been really innovative and making hand wash basins now, and like Parry and Falcon and so forth, and we've used those and brought those in, and sanitizer handles and so forth that have been stands which have come in as well. So we've used all the industry's innovativeness as well. Got the building safe, and then we hit the furlough scheme. We laid off 130 people straight away onto the furlough, but we needed to keep the business alive. So we had a limited amount of customer service working in the from home, limited amount in accounts, which were still busy because we're trying to collect debt, and that's another story. The IT, because we're developing and launched some new products through our IT, and then we had the purchasing and then the warehouse people that had to be in the building. So there's a lot to consider. And I think as we hit all that and we sent everyone home, we then had this big question mark on whether the industry would pay, and you know, and if we could pay them as well. We invested heavily in stock due early March, so that we could just protect any issues in supply chain if they became apparent through COVID. We never knew at that time how bad it would be, so we overexpensed quite a lot of money. And when we needed some backup from group, of course they were there for us, but of course they had the increasing challenge as well of understanding what their business is going to be like in America as well. So we had a period of time when we were very much running, you know, lots and lots of models of what this could look like over time, and short term, medium term and long term, and how we'd address the, you know, what we thought we'd get in from our customers and what we thought we'd get chased for in our supply chain. And I have to say, I've been remarkably impressed with the amount of decency that the customers have all had. If they couldn't pay, they tried to put plans together for us. They worked very proactively to try and work a solution out. And I was very, very concerned over the amount of debt that we have with the Cedar Bond dealers, because that gets chunked in from Cedar Bond. And we were like delighted when that first payment came in, because it was, you know, 95% there, and we didn't expect it. And our models, you know, we're hoping for more, but obviously realistically looking for less. And after that initial 4 or 5 week period of paying all the original supply chain and getting all the money in from the original orders from customers, it's balanced out quite well, and everyone's been really proactive in helping us. So it's, you know, thank you to all the customers, and thank you for all the suppliers for working with us to get through this. I'm in a much better place now.
Yeah, how is it now? Have you managed to recall everyone from furlough?
We've been working on a lot of strategies, and of course we do know that this new normal isn't going to be the same as it was. We've had immense, complex and really heartbreaking decisions to have to restructure the business and streamline it somewhat, and we've had to make some redundancies. Not one of them should have been made redundant. You know, it's the circumstance that's done it. They've all been really true workers, and we thank them for all the work they've done, but we've had to lay some off and restructure it so that we can work in a different normal. And what we did find though was, when people are working from home and people are working more together and less siloed in a way of their own sectors, we're finding more efficiencies. So we're actually getting a lot more out of the people by the different working techniques that we've employed and adopted. So that's been remarkable. And I think most people are seeing that. You're getting more out of the staff now because they're all grouping together and working a different way, which seems to work, makes it work easier.
Excellent stuff. Phil, is that something that you're finding with CDG as well? Has this new way of working brought some benefits to you guys?
I think it has. I think what we've been most concerned about is making sure that we always talk about the CDG family because that's how it kind of feels with everybody. And the big concern was trying to keep that going. And we've not been brilliant at it, but we have been doing video calls and, we've been linking in with people sat out in their gardens and enjoying the sunshine and things. And, it's that sort of rapport has kept on going where we normally do that, on a face-to-face basis. So we've got a meeting we've organised for later this month when we are coming into the office as a team, which would be quite good. Luckily, we've got a bit of space so we can do all the social distancing and everything. And that, I think, is keeping the kind of rapport together. But yeah, it's kind of hard. I find it quite hard working from home all the time. But you're still talking to people a lot of the time as well. So it's not been too bad.
Phil, I know your company, and you mentioned this earlier in the past, and now is heavily involved with the contract caterer side of the market. Yep. Obviously, that's a particular area of the market where there's a lot of talk around potential structural change, particularly with this working from home and the way people will behave in future and the need for staff canteens and so on. I just wondered sort of what sense of change you got from the early discussions you've had with businesses in that sector.
I think there was lots of things, and I think we produced a what we call a COVID-19 report, which is based around talking to one of the contract caterers, and basically that was highlighting really the changes that we felt, and this was very early on in the lockdown period, that would need to be instigated. So we were talking about where we could do kind of electronic ordering and things like this, so you weren't going to servery counters, it was all being ordered online via apps and things like this. Moving that kind of forward. It was also looking at servery areas. Okay, how could we change it so that people are keeping 2 meters apart at the time, and how that could work, and how could we indicate the ways they could go and make one-way systems and everything like that. So that's kind of detailed in the report there, and we try to come up with as much thinking and lateral thinking as we could do to pass on to our clients. We've used that a couple of times outside of the contract catering market as well, and it's been gratefully received. But it is, unfortunately, we can only go so far and give all the ideas, and then effectively it's been down to the clients really to actually take those ideas and adapt them to their actual working environments.
Sure. Okay. When it comes to that adapting, do you feel that it is a case, it's an issue of design for you guys, or do you feel it's an issue of equipment?
I think it's some of it's an issue of design. There definitely is an equipment element to it in terms of screens and things like this and how we work with that. But a lot of it is design. We are producing some of the designs we've done. We've done it as a pre-COVID design, and we've done it as a COVID compliant design, and tried to indicate to our clients the way that could potentially work. So there's been a lot of things where grab and go, as a lot of people going to a grab and go isn't really working because you can't get the social distancing there. So it might be sort of, you may have to bring in another member of staff to get things out of a grab and go to hand it to a member of the public and things like this. So lots of changes like that, which I think are design led, but there definitely is things from an equipment point of view. And as John indicated there, the industry has been fantastic in coming up with all sorts of alternatives really, and lateral thinking. When we started this, you're kind of thinking, well, where are we going to buy a Perspex screen from? Now you can buy a Perspex screen from 300 different companies, I think, really, of different formats, which is great. That is what our industry, I think, is so good at, being flexible and thinking these things through.
Yeah, John, just coming back to you, I know that quality is definitely something that's one of the key tenets of First Choice. So do you think that with all of the changes that food service operations are going to make, the kind of quality of spare parts and the quality of equipment itself, is that going to suffer at all?
Well, it's an interesting point, and we obviously preach the OEM parts and for obviously safety and reliability, etc. And I think, we've just been told we're headed into this recession, and the first since 2008. And I remember in 2008, that the parts business, didn't actually drop; it actually grew due to perhaps the decline in new equipment being bought. However, the real point is that people need to repair their equipment, don't they? So they need to have the right part at the right time. It's a false economy to fit things that won't last as long. You do it with tyres on a car, you can do it with a number of items, but you always pay the price at the end of it. So, but I'd always preach that safety in mind, fit the OEM part always. The quality side of it, well, I'm finding customers are now moving more towards preventive maintenance because they're seeing that they need to clean and need to maintain their equipment in a different way. We're also seeing, and we launched a new website during the pandemic, a transactional website which would allow end users or customers that don't have an account with us to get online and buy certain items. And the main items they're buying is cleaning solutions, you know, the tablets, the things for the ovens, the cleaning chemicals that we supply to the different brands. And that's been really prominent in those sales. So people are actually thinking, where do I get the cleaning for my Mary Chef? Where do I get my tablets for my Rationale? Where do I get my, you know, Wave Clean for my MKN, etc.
Yeah.
And they're going online and finding it now through our site, and they're finding it because our site's now open for pricing. So we've not only allowed end users and small accounts that didn't have an account with us the ability to come online now and just order. Unsurprisingly, they just are. So it's a very simple site, and and we've seen that those sort of products are moving very fast now. So I think the kitchens, the restaurants, the service companies are all looking at ways now to bring the equipment up to a new freshness, a new cleanliness, etc. Because it's important. I'm sure that the dishwashers are being serviced more often, and I'm sure the ovens will be cleaned more often, and so forth. And you know, and we try to adapt what we do to try and help our customer base, which is the service companies. And you know, we introduced some, you know, recommissioning guides to the manufacturers that we could work with, and I know that the associations have as well. We also put together some basic PPE equipment that we were selling to different people. However, it's been challenging to get because obviously the demands have been so high. So we sold the masks at cost, but the gloves we put a high price on because we're buying them at a high price. But eventually they will all come down, and I'm hopeful that people will keep the routines. We've gone to source on sanitizing gels and got those down in price, and we sell those out to the customers now. But you know, just general things that we never thought we'd get into. We've been sort of prioritizing a little bit, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, needs must, huh? So you mentioned must. Yeah, you mentioned the associations, the industry associations, and currently you are the chair of the Food Service Equipment Association. So have you kind of been taking a lead in their initiatives during this crisis time?
Well, we've been taking a share of the initiatives, but I have to say the team back at FEA, you know, headed by Keith Warren, has been outstanding. You know, not only do we continue to, you know, continue the normal work with the information, influence, and involvement, but Keith also added on top of his normal day work and obviously the team, the added burden of not only COVID, but that's massive, and they've done webinars on, I was reading earlier, you know, scenario planning, pricing, employment law, export, R&D, the COVID itself, keeping everyone updated, you know, in such amazing ways, you know, and then also working with the other associations, you know, including Cedar Bond as a buying consortium and entity, and trying to understand what the market's needs will be. We've been working with Cedar; they've done a lot of great work as well, and you know, we're trying to see where the synergies lie and where we can do more together in all associations, in all environments, to try and make life a little easier for for us all. We're all working from home now. The FEA doesn't work from the office, and they're finding it remarkably productive to obviously not travel in every day. I'm sure everyone's the same, but and you know, so it's really it's business as normal. Teams or Zoom meetings, you know, once perhaps a week or once every other week. All the marketing committees are still moving forward. All the forums are still moving forward. Kids busier than ever, to be fair, and the team, and they're looking at some great new initiatives. You know, net zero carbon plans and so forth by 2050. You know, looking at a 3-point plan to support that, lobbying to government. There's just a ton of work, and I have to say, as chair, I see it, but the credit must go to the team behind the scenes that we all know does the work and heads it, and you know, it's been amazing to see the amount of work and recognition that the FEA has received from its members and from its potential members and the industry on how we've tried to support the industry through this period. I mean, it is just remarkable. They should get rewarded for it.
I think from our point of view, I think from the CEDA point of view, which John just mentioned there as well, I think Adam, Fiona and Peter have been brilliant in terms of the support work as a distributor that they've been doing that period of time. And I was pleased that most of my team sat through most of the webinars that were organised via CEDA, but led by the manufacturers, and they were tremendous. And you know, there's probably more training gone over the last 4 or 5 months than there has been in the last couple of years, really, which has been really useful. And I'm glad that the guys have actually embraced that, really, and tried to learn as much as they could during that period of time. And we've done that outside of just equipment. We've done it with a lot of interior companies and things as well. So it's been really productive from that point of view.
Yeah, very true. The associations have definitely been extremely proactive.
I think it's connected a lot more together as well.
Yep.
So it's connected to UK hospitality, it's connected bays, and we know we've got a lot more information now and a lot more clarity on how to get it from these organisations, etc. But I just see the industry itself and the core bodies within the industry have really pulled together to try and work together over this period, and it's been you know, it has been challenging for everybody, but everyone has stuck in. I mean, none of the FEA team have been on furlough. You know, it's been flat out. You know, from the top really, because they're doing all the same old work plus all the updating and trying to support people as they get asked. And I asked the question last week, you know, well, how many members are, you know, I mean, all the members are still there, and I said, are they using us more? You know, because we get the phone calls, and it was yes. You know, there's a lot more questions, a lot more detailed work to do, and that's what we do at FEA. You know, they support that part. Now, of course, they're getting back into Brexit and have a number of things to do. They've got CE marking to get involved with, and you know, there's just a ton of work going on. That's why, and that's why we need these associations to help us all, you know, get to where we need to get to be able to work efficiently in our industry at work. I think from a business point of view, though, we've been doing a number of surveys, and the indications at the moment are that, you know, from an FEA membership point of view, that you know, most people think they'll be at sort of 50% of where they should be by June 21, and probably 80% by December 21. So, and it's not a fixed number. Of course, it's very fluid. But I think if we look at our industry, we'd be lucky to get to 20% of where we should be this year, next year. However, we'd probably be a lot better than some of the dealers being a service part of the industry. And we saw the boost before they opened hospitality, which we were pleased for, because people started bringing them back. but we've also seen engineers now go back on furlough after that little blip's gone. So they've serviced up, they've opened. Not everybody opened, or not everybody were as busy as they could have been, perhaps from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when the half prices and £10 off. But in general, we're then finding a bit of a lull where people have started to say they've laid a few engineers back off onto the furlough to try and support them over time. You know, and you have to say the furlough scheme,
Yeah.
you know, however it gets paid in the end, has been a lifesaver for, I think, every industry, but particularly the hospitality.
Yes.
We needed it.
We're coming towards the end of our session today, but I'll ask a quick question to both of you, and I'll ask the same question. So starting with Phil, what do you see as the way forward then in the short or medium term for CDG?
Basically, it's. I think we're going to have to adapt a little bit. Really, our current marketplace. For instance, we do a lot of work with independent schools. That's likely to be quite subdued for some period of time. So we've got a very flexible structure, really, and skill set, really, with the guys. So you know, we've done spas at hotels in the past, reception areas, and all these kind of things. So it may well be that we've got to think outside the box and think laterally a bit. But we've got the design ability to be able to not just do the restaurant and the kitchen side of it, to be able to do those other areas too. And I think that's what we'll end up having to do. And also get this kind of spread, if you like, between consultancy work that we do and supply work as well. So it's that kind of mixture there, I think, is the way forward for ourselves.
Yeah, and then John, the same thing for First Choice. What do you see as the way forward for you guys at the moment?
Well, we're challenged with the new normal every day, and I think, you know, the social distancing won't go away for the short term. I think we will be very much more lenient to people working from home. I don't know, we've got a big building here, but I can't. There's about 7 people in the office and 23 in the warehouse, and that's it. You know, no training going on. So I think the new normal for us will be that we'll be looking at innovating ideas to allow people to work from home longer. I think that will be the case. I think we'll be looking at ways to give information to the customers that we don't currently do today. So I think the transactional website that we launched will evolve. We've launched it for the retail side. We'll bring it into the B2B this week or next week. And we'll add more data on there than we've ever had on before, which will give people easier access to price, to parts, to availability, to drawings, to wiring diagrams, to commissioning, to recommissioning, and so forth. So I think it's just more trying to find those new ways to get to the different channels of the business that we know is there, but they struggle to find the answers to. So we're very much driven around, you know, our service companies are our core. They'll always be our core. They'll always be our focus. And, you know, but we shouldn't exclude other channels that are trying to find these avenues, to find the parts they need for the cleaning and the maintenance of the equipment. So,
perfect. Well, I think we've run out of time now, but thank you very much both for this week, and tune in next week for another market talk, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.